What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. Joined alongside Tim live in Green Bay. We got Tim back in the house. Bub, long time no talkie. How you doing, Bub?
Doing good, man. Missed one of my first Packer kickoffs in like 20-something years, but it was for a good reason. So I'm happy to be back, man. Happy to talk some ball. Happy that we beat the Colts.
Let's go.
Love it.
Bro, that was one of the more enjoyable games that I've experienced as a Packer fan because, like I said, no one expected us to win that game. And to see Matt LaFleur on the opening drive break out the what I call the 118 pony package, I was like, okay, LaFleur about to drop some knowledge on these cats today. It was a lot of fun for sure. So let's do this, man. Let's get this party started right and give a shout out to the good folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. They're Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Just click on the link in the video description and it'll send you to theticketking.com where you can register for free as a customer and go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that's Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. So let's get into some news first, Tim, if that's all right with you, man. Unfortunately, we got some bad news today. We'll go ahead and knock this out. As Paul Brettel tweeted out earlier, the Packers have placed Marshon Lloyd on injured reserve. They signed Chris Brooks from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. Lloyd left Sunday's game with an ankle injury. So obviously Marshon Lloyd has been battling the hamstring issue there, Tim. And, of course, now he's got an ankle injury, so they just went ahead and put him on IR. I haven't heard that it's season ending, so I'm assuming it's the 4-week IR and try to get him back a little later. So that's good news. But it sucks, man, because I know his overall stats weren't great, but the first run we seen, and hearing Gary Ellerson talk about it earlier today, I think it was on a podcast from yesterday I was listening to today. It's like, hey, that's something we haven't seen. The way he did. Matt LaFleur refers to him as that little rocket in the backfield. He sure looked the part, man. So hopefully he gets healthy and gets back out there.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think he's got a bright career ahead of him. I really do. And I think he's got a role on this team. The little bit that we've gotten to see from him so far, you see that unlimited potential, right? You talk about a guy who flashes. Marshon Lloyd has a tendency to do that nearly every time he's involved on a play. So it's just tough to see him on IR, but I do feel good about our running back room, being, just an off-season remove from, our two big names, Jones and Dillon being gone. It's Jacobs and Wilson right now and everybody else filling in and rallying together as a team, just like we did on Sunday. We got to keep going. It doesn't matter if it's QB1, RB3, does not matter. We got to stick together. We all heard Coach LaFleur's post-game speech a few days ago, which was great. And that is the model for this team. We play together, we play for each other, and pick each other up.
Absolutely. Give a quick shout out to Bernie, who became a new member here on YouTube. Also, shout out to United Bates gifting 5 Packer Fan Total Access memberships here on YouTube. Bates, you're the man. And Dan Mullen becoming a new member of the PTA posse here. Appreciate you, Dan. Welcome aboard, bub. Thank you all for supporting the stream here. If you guys are interested in that, there should be a join tab right there on your app or close to your dashboard on YouTube, where you can join and be a member here on YouTube. We've also got an awesome Patreon group. That's what I recommend people joining. But if you like the YouTube features and you want to do that, man, it's totally cool too. So any way you guys want to choose to support the channel, we are so blessed that you guys and gals choose to do that. Thank you all so much. Let's jump into the Patreon chat here real quick, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Appreciate it, crowd out there. So we
got
a
Patreons and our subscribers. That wasn't for you, Clay.
Maybe we'll earn one here in a little bit. So questions for the show. We do super chats here on YouTube. That's a way you can kind of get your question out there or comment, right over the air and kind of made as a conversation piece. What we wanted to do for the Patreon group is we wanted to put this out here. So anyone who's in the Patreon group, we got a section for questions for the show. So here's some of those questions from the Patreon group. When are we going to see the Cooper Hopper tandem? For me there, Tim, they're trying to make this Quay Walker thing work. Obviously, he's been great in pass coverage. Really, really struggled against the run. So I don't see Hopper leapfrogging Quay by any stretch. I don't see him leapfrogging Hooper or a Hopper. Sorry, Cooper. God, it's so tough. Cooper and Hopper. I don't see Hopper leapfrogging Cooper, but the question was, when do you see them on the field together? Man, the way Eric Wilson played, albeit 8 snaps, I feel like Eric Wilson has got the upper hand there. Tim, he played, I think it was 7 or 8 snaps on Sunday, and the guy forced a fumble, got an interception, and made a tackle for a loss. Like, what else can you ask from that dude? Oh, and by the way, he's the highest graded special teams player. So to answer Randy's question here, Randy Cleaver's in the Patreon group, I think it's going to be a long time, or hopefully we don't see it, because if we do, Tim, it's probably going to be because of injury, right?
Right. And, when I think of Eric Wilson, man, I just think grizzled freaking veteran player. And on a young team like this, I love having guys like that. Preston Smith is another one. We've got a few in the mix here that this is not their first, second, or third, or fifth rodeo here. And it goes really well with some of these rookies. I mean, think about Cooper and Hopper, having a guy like Wilson to kind of, look after here, as an example is great. And I think we need to get some of these young linebackers on the field. We talked about Quay's kind of ups and downs and, his struggles to kind of get over the hump here in year 3. That doesn't mean we bail on him. It just means maybe we got to plug and play and move him around. Maybe he goes out to the Will, maybe he goes to the Sam, and we just mix up that lineup a little bit. But guys like Eric Wilson make you feel really good about your linebacker room. And, Zay McDuff, that's another guy, man. Another guy you love. He's, not going to give you that spectacular play all the time, but the guy's going to be reliable and not a liability out there on the field. And again, someone that these young linebackers can kind of look up to. We've got some leaders on this team, but man, there's a lot to be excited about though with Eric Wilson, man. He was a spark plug for us last season. Made some absolutely huge plays, critical plays, ball hawking type of plays. You got to love a guy like that. Again, I never thought I'd speak so highly of a former Viking before, but my goodness, Eric Wilson, what an addition to the Packers, man. I'm glad he's here.
It's funny how just changed the colors on the jersey, and all of a sudden he's not that bad of a guy.
Yeah, so here's a guy.
Funny how that works. Dan Mullen with the super chat. Thank you, Dan. He says, really have grown to love this podcast and the community you're establishing. Please don't stop. Thank you, Dan. We appreciate the super chat, bud. And I'll tell you, here's the reason we set up Rumble, and we're also on X, and we also have the Patreon group, is because, listen, it wasn't looking good on YouTube. The channel got demonetized. We got suspended. They wouldn't give specifics on what it was that we did wrong, so we had to be real careful. We're still very careful. Like, we're going to be doing Chalk Talk tonight. It's going to be the second half of the show, and when we do it, we're going to go ahead and end the stream on YouTube and jump over to Rumble, which you can find the link. Just go to Rumble and look for Packer Fan Total Access. I think we're the only Packers podcast on Rumble that has the most subs, if I remember correctly. So it's growing like crazy too, or you can just follow along on X. But yeah, it was scary for me, because I'm like, man, listen, yeah, I want to keep the podcast going and I love what we do and this and that. But the main thing was like all the connections we have with everybody, the fans on YouTube. And it was like, man, this sucks. Like, you can't even tell me what we did wrong. And we're just like kind of cut off. And also they send you an email saying, if you create a secondary channel, you'll be banned from YouTube forever. It's like, oh, wonderful. Okay, cool. So it's just basically sit down, shut up. Got it. So thank you so much, man, for the kind words. And we will not stop. We'll be on some platform. Hopefully it's still here on YouTube. But again, we've got backup plans if that happens again. But thank you so much, Dan. We appreciate the super chat there, bub. Back to the questions on Patreon. Randy Cleavers asked, do you think Lloyd might be injury prone? Listen, when I hear injury prone, that sounds a lot better, a lot more respectful than made of glass and the stuff that people said about Christian Watson. I hate that type of stuff. But if a player is injury prone, that is a real thing. I'm hoping it's not the case with Lloyd. But I think, too, Tim, what comes into play here is like when you watch the way he ran and you hear how LaFleur talks about him, how he's so quick, man, that puts a lot of torque, a lot of wear on the joints, the ligaments, everything. So, I mean, Bo Jackson, perfect example. Yeah. And I know there's people going, Clayton, my grandpa talked about Bo Jackson. Well, Papaw Bailey's about to talk about him. He was so explosive that he literally was breaking a tackle and ruined his hip, right? That's essentially what happened that ended his career. Sometimes when players are explosive, it can be it makes for great plays and very effective on the field, but Sometimes their body just can't handle it. You know what I'm saying, Tim?
Yep, absolutely. And I think it's a little early to go out on that limb and call him 100% injury prone. I don't think he's been a pro long enough. We know he was dealing with nagging injuries, his last year at USC. We knew that coming in. We knew that when we drafted him. But you got to be concerned anytime you got a running back that's got hammy or hip issues. It's definitely a big concern. So I think we got to give him time to rehab from this and get as close to 100% as he can be. And then let's see how many games, we actually have him active for and, how much meaningful football he's going to play for us down the stretch. And if he stays healthy, great. If he has a setback, he has a setback. But I think you got to give a rookie at least, a rookie season to really get a barometer on it. Is he injury prone? We had that conversation about Scoot, his rookie year. And one of the things for all the injuries that Christian Watson has had since he came into the NFL, that guy has always found a way back to the football field. Whether he's missing a handful of games or he misses a week here, misses a week there, he finds his way back to the field and he finds a way to make plays for us. So I think at the very least, if Marshon Lloyd turns out to be that type of dude in his rookie year, this is a long season. We're going to be in the playoffs. We are a playoff team. I'm still convinced of it. I have no doubts, 100% confidence. So you're going to need a guy like Marshon Lloyd, come week 16, 17, when you're making that final push and guys are banged up. So I think we owe it to ourselves to, give him this year to really see what he's all about before we go ahead and call him injury prone, right?
Definitely. Jason in the Patreon group says, can we expect our O-line to maintain that level of run blocking going forward? It was seemingly out of nowhere that they figured it out. I hope they don't have sudden amnesia when J Love returns. It is a real thing, I think, Tim. Like when your best player or your most important player, I should say, is missing the game, and the coaching staff puts all this emphasis on, like, guys, look, the margin of error is so small. Let's rally around each other. Let's play. You're probably getting a little bit of elevated play out of these guys. And then all of a sudden when he comes back, it's okay, we got 10 back. We can kind of relax a little bit. I think there is a little bit of that may go on. Hopefully that's not the case. Now, PFF would suggest they didn't run block that great. That doesn't mean that it's absolutely correct. Right now, I was looking at some of the SIS data earlier today, and there were some blown blocks, especially from like Sean Ryan. Sean Clifford wasn't out there playing guard, I promise you. Sean Ryan, with some blown blocks. And what's crazy is when we do Chalk Talk here in a second, I think it was the longest run of the day for Josh Jacobs, who just had a monster day. The key block on that was Sean Ryan getting downfield. But again, the way PFF does their grading is, they're way higher on consistency than, wow, that was an amazing play. Like, their system has been converted to a Madden rating type system, and I'm not going to go into the details, nor do I know all the details on how that works. But it seems like it's getting converted over from their +2, -2 scale, which is what a lot of coaches use. So on that play, all Sean Ryan could have got was a +2, although he was probably the most important part of that play. That's just one play. You know what I mean? He could have 2 penalties, ended up with a horrible grade because they're all about consistency. So that's why you take that information and you kind of couple it with other key analytics, statistics, and the tape, your own eyes. Use your own judgment on how well a player may or not play. So for me, though, I think that's fair to say, or fair to have a little bit of a worry there, Tim, that when J Love does return, maybe the O-line takes a sigh of relief, and the next thing you know, they're not maybe on their P's and Q's.
Yeah, hopefully not, though, right? And with Sean Ryan, this is a guy we've been waiting for this for a long time, right? We could have cut and run from him, probably last year if we wanted to, and we didn't, which is good. Year 3 for him, I believe. Year 2 of real football for him. Basically, we all know about the rookie season. But he's a guy that's bought in and has, I don't care what you say about Sean Ryan, he's improved every year. His game is, he's as good a player as he's been since he's gotten here. And I still think he's going to improve with more reps. By the way, happy birthday, Sean Ryan, too, a little happy belated. And of course, Eric Sutherland, too, out there. Happy birthday to Eric's Uncle Eric out there. Happy late birthday. But, back to the O-line, I think, I don't know how serious this shoulder with Jordan Morgan is. But I think we just got our answer here as far as, are they going to split duty at right guard? I think it's going to be the Sean Ryan show here going forward, especially after the performance he had Sunday. And I hope that there is no regression when Jay Money comes back. If anything, I hope they stay with this mindset and this mentality that, it's us against everyone else. And, you'd like to say it doesn't really matter who's under center when we all know it does. But, to an old lineman, man, you got to go out and do your job regardless. And I hope they don't get complacent with, QB1 back at the helm, because that's what great quarterbacks do, right? They make the game a little easier, especially on their linemen. And so maybe the fact that, they had a new guy back there on Sunday, and, that O-line had to have their stuff together in order to get that win. And they answered the call. So, I really hope that they do maintain that level of run blocking. I've always said, pass pro is going to be paramount. It's definitely more important than run blocking, especially on a Matt LaFleur offense. But if we can just not be cheeks at run blocking, that would be great. If we could be somewhere middle range in our run blocking, that is going to make us just lethal on offense. So hopefully they maintain that intensity going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Sandy Lane Packer, aka Fractal of God, in the questions for the show thread here on our Patreon group says, when and where would you use pin and pull? What are the positives and negatives of pin and pull? In my limited knowledge, I think is what he meant. One negative is that it's susceptible to the backfield runner coming through your line. Talking about the backfield defender, I believe. So the way that pin and pull works is typically you've got the offensive line, right, will pin down on one side. So let's say you're going to run to the right. Okay, you're going to pin and pull right. Then the right tackle, right guard, or even the tight end on that side will block in the opposite direction of the running play. And it does two different things. It gives the illusion from the defensive linebacker point, or even the spur safety, that the line is blocking to their right, the offense's left. So they want to take a step in that direction, right? So you're kind of pinning in that direction. You think, okay, zone left run. So you move to your right from the defensive side. So you slide right as soon as you see them pin, and then all of a sudden you got a backside guard pulling around, and it becomes kind of a power play, right? That's essentially what pin and pull is, and there's a bunch of different versions. You can have pin and pull with the play side tackle be the puller and the receivers in the tight end be the pin, right? So to answer your question, the positive and negative is you're creating this illusion of complexity, right? You're basically making it look like, okay, they're going zone opposite direction when actually they're going gap in the other direction, right? Or some would just go ahead and say it's zone. That's fine, but you do have a lead blocker pulling. Sometimes it can just be a power G. It can be a power GT with the tackle and the guard. There's been times that the guard and the tackle on the play side would pin and the center would pull too, right? So that's one of the positives. The other positive too is it's given the running back a better hat count. You're trying to still a gap, essentially, is what you're doing. You're taking multiple guys out of the play and then getting on the perimeter where you got a big hog molly lead blocking, and then all of a sudden the running back can cut off of that, and it gives him multiple options along the way too. Those are the positives. The negatives are if somebody misses a block, that thing's getting blown up. Let me tell you, because if that puller misses and they, from the linebacker's perspective, if they're not sold on the sugar at hand and they just shoot the gap thinking, okay, this is when they like to run pin and pull, they can be in the backfield. And that's when you see who blew their block. It's not always a person's fault, right? Sometimes it's, hey, we got out schemed there, right? They seen it coming. So, Tim, anything you want to add to that? But essentially that's what pin and pull is, to my understanding. Again, someone in the chat may have a better understanding, but that's the way I understand it.
No, I got nothing. That was as close to perfection as I can get there. And if we want any clarity, just keep watching this Matt LaFleur offense cook, because we're going to see plenty more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, shout out to Fractal of God, Jason, and Randy Cleavers. Thank y'all for supporting in the Patreon group. If you want to join our Patreon group, just scan that QR code in the upper right, or go to patreon.com /Packer Fan Total Access, or just go to patreon.com and search Packer Fan Total Access. So we're going to be doing a giveaway too. I'm pretty sure what we're going to do, it's probably going to be for the game this week. I'm going to be in Nashville for the game. It's going to be hard to do a post-game show. I wanted to do the giveaway this week. We may have to wait till next week, gang, or maybe we'll do it Friday or Saturday. We'll figure it out, but it's going to be an autographed. I think I've got an Antonio Freeman jersey that's autographed. So that'll be a cool piece of memorabilia that we may throw in there. So we'll We'll do that. All right. John Schmidt in the chat says, Pin and Pull is Kraft's bread and butter. Man, Tucker Kraft is becoming a fan favorite, Tim. It's so much fun to see him kind of step into his own, dude.
I mean, like, he makes watching guys block, like, even more fun than normal. You know, it's like, as great as it is to see him catch and run with the ball, man, him coming over on those sifts or coming over and sealing on that edge or, you know, in that gap. He had I forgot what play it is. I'm sure we'll see it in Chalk Talk and highlight it. If I know you, I know you've got it picked in the hopper already. But he is really excelling at this blocking, especially in these run fits and really in the pass pro too. He's good for a little chip off the line too. Tuck Norris is the man. I told you, he's a Swiss Army knife on this offense, and there's lots of ways to utilize him. And, you know, Musgrave peppering in, you know, behind him, those guys were playing some great complementary football on Sunday afternoon for sure. It's a good tandem tight end group for sure.
No doubt about it, man. So obviously Malik Willis, listen, the stat line wasn't crazy, although his EPA was through the roof. But here was PFF Green Bay Packers tweeted this out. Malik Willis on 3rd and 4th downs in week 2. He was 7 for 8. So they took all the 3rd and 4th downs. He was 7 for 8 for 94 yards, 6 first downs, Tim, 1 touchdown, no picks. This dude played outside of his mind within the scheme. What's crazy too is we talk about the vomit ball. I don't know if you heard this story, Tim. Have you heard about this?
Oh, I heard it. I think I can still smell it too. Yeah.
What's crazy is, like, I can't remember who it was that said it earlier. It was on a podcast I was listening to, and they said the beautiful thing about that, and I think it might have been Tauscher. The beautiful thing about that play was he takes the snap, and you see him. He realizes this ball is drenched. He tries to wipe his hand, and then he comes and he's like, I can't throw this football. You know how many people would have just been like, all right, this ain't my fault. Let me see if I can go through my read. But he understood what the game plan was, and that was protect the football. We're going to control the clock. We're going to let them make the mistakes. We're going to be, I wouldn't even say conservative. We're going to make sure that we give ourselves every bit of high percentage chance of winning this game as physically possible. And he just tucks it, runs it on 3rd down, doesn't get the first down, chooses to punt. Daniel Whalen, oh my God, is that dude on fire? We'll hit a screen grab from him here in a second, which was just absolutely phenomenal. But we got to go rapid fire for sure before we get to Chalk Talk. But again, Malik Willis, absolutely awesome. Here's another thing cool. Quarterback EPA per play leaders in 2024 NFL season, weeks 1 through 2. Look at Malik Willis, guys. In EPA, right? EPA, he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th in the league right now. And check it out. Jordan Love down here too. Let's see, it's 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th in EPA amongst quarterbacks per play leaders in the 2024 season. I thought that was absolutely awesome. And what's even awesomer, we know that's not a word, but we're going to use it anyway. Look at next to last on that list, Caleb Williams. My goodness, man. And here's the other thing too, Tim. Will Levis, the next quarterback we face, he's 5th from the bottom, 4th or 5th from the bottom. So there's going to be even more opportunities this Sunday going up against a quarterback that's going to turn the football over. And one last graphic, I'll get your take on Willis and just everything we just covered. 33rd team tweeted this out. Malik Willis versus the Colts. Completion percentage, 85.7%. Yards per attempt, 8.7 yards per attempt. 1 touchdown, no picks. Passer rating of 126.8. EPA per dropback, 0.58. Explosive play percentage, 10%. Anthony Richardson, completion percentage, 50%. Yards per attempt, 6. 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Passer rating of 41.8. EPA per dropback, minus 0.16. Explosive play percentage was only at 2.6%. Tim, our boy Malik Willis came in here and essentially outplayed one of the golden boys of the draft last year. Absolutely wild, man.
Yeah, and that says a lot more about Malik Willis than it does about Anthony Richardson. I think Anthony Richardson's going to continue to develop. He's a guy you got to keep your eye on going forward, obviously. But unfortunately for him, he ran into Jeff Hafley's defense, and the boys balled out on the defensive side of the ball. And, as far as Malik Willis goes, man, what else can you say about this guy? I mean, I have full confidence in our backup now. I think Matt LaFleur did a good job of, like you said, not being conservative, just calling a smart game and having a smart game plan that everybody bought into going into this matchup against the Colts. And, took care of business in the home opener like we always do. 12 in a row. We'll take it. Next year, we'll get 13. Right? Yeah, we'll tie it next year for sure. So, no, I just feel great. I think, we'll get into some of the meat and potatoes and chalk talk, but all in all, man, you couldn't be happier. And just to hear Malik Willis after that game, getting that game ball from Coach LaFleur, and, he summed it all up. He said, the guys rallied around him. They put him in a position to embrace this scheme and this playbook and get up to speed. He went out there. You could clearly see in the body language who the confident quarterback was on the field. Yeah. It was not Anthony Richardson. That guy was, he was sweating. He was definitely nervous. And Malik Willis was not. And Malik Willis, he's the new guy. You're talking, 2.5, 3 weeks or whatever it was that he was there. He played like an absolute pro. And, in Malik, we trust. Absolutely. I'm 100% behind him.
Definitely. Shout out to Josh Vallanningham gifting 10 Packer Fan Total Access memberships to lucky viewers here. Josh, thank you so much, bud. We appreciate you. That's awesome. We're going to have a bunch of people entering into that contest. That's going to be great, man. And Jacob Bust in the house. What's up, Jacob? With the $1.99 dono there. Appreciate it, man.
Jacob putting a little money in the till. I like that.
Put some money in the pot. And here's what's really cool. I was talking about this last night on the pod, and I know there's probably several people that still haven't seen it. When I was talking about when Malik Willis was at the combine, someone filmed him randomly. Notice this isn't a film crew following him around going, hey, look, we're doing something good. This is just some random nobody across the street that was like, hey, that looks like one of the prospects going to the combine. And you'll see here, Tim, this is Malik Willis. Let me just read the tweet. This came from Ryan Lacey. Love the American flag emoji too. At rlacey23 says, was having lunch yesterday and saw one of the combine guys helping out someone on some hard times. Malik Willis being great even when nobody is watching. How can you not be a fan of this guy? And you see, he literally opens up his suitcase and starts handing out some of his clothes to this homeless person, man. And again, Tim, the beautiful thing is he didn't think anybody was watching. Like this
right.
is, dude, I love it. Absolutely love it. And shout out to Ryan Lacey for grabbing that. You know what I mean? I guarantee you Malik probably would rather it not have been seen,
sure.
But it's important to know who the good guys are. It really is. It's so hard not to get behind this kid. Tim, we got him for 2 years, man. How cool is that?
Man, glory to God, right? I'm
Absolutely.
Grateful he's here. And, this is a great example of, you do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because somebody's watching or not because you want to feel warm and fuzzy inside. I mean, this is a man who saw another person in need and had the means to help him out in that moment. And how these football players, these athletes, they get clothes every day. There are boxes of shoes shipped to them and new warm-ups and new sweats and all of that stuff. So, he knew he had plenty to spare and he did. And you're right. He wasn't seeking the attention. And, it's real honorable and it makes you feel good about who we've got here. Clearly this guy fits the mold here in Green Bay, and we're lucky to have him.
Yeah, no doubt about it, man. Everybody responding in the chat here. I've been throwing them up on the screen. Bernie says, so cool to see that kindness. Chris and respect. Love it. And then, of course, Prince going to take a shot at Jacob real quick. Said, Jacob saved big at Aldi today and is spreading the wealth with that $1.99 dono. So there you go. Oh, man. But again, Malik Willis just a great human. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, man. Let's see what else we got on tap here. We got a lot of information to get through before we get to Chalk Talk. This was pretty cool. The best pass blocking tackles from week 2. This was PFF that tweeted this out. Rasheed Walker, 87.9 pass blocking grade. He was 4th best in the league. You guys know it's not the only thing that matters. He's got to get better as run blocking, got to clean up the penalties. But the top priority for that left tackle in Jordan Love's case, or if you were Tua Tagovailoa or another lefty, the right tackle, that blind side protection is absolutely huge at pass blocking. Rasheed Walker just seems to be getting better at that, Tim.
Yeah, and a guy, who was thrown into the fire last season and certainly responded. He had his ups and downs last year, but we saw that potential in him, and he's continuing to improve. I mean, look at the company he's in here. I mean, these are premier tackles.
Laramie Tunsil has been considered the best tackle in the game outside of Trent Williams, right, with the 49ers. Yep. It's always Laramie Tunsil and Trent Williams that gets mentioned. So you're right, Tim. He's I mean, he's right there on the doorstep. Ronnie Stanley, I think, what is it, Jordan Mailata, maybe is how you say it. But Ronnie Stanley, another Notre Dame guy, I'm pretty sure, just an absolute dog. So it's look at him ahead of Lane Johnson by 3 points, according to PFF. Taylor Decker, Rashawn Slater. I mean, these are good tackles that he's ahead of in pass blocking. So that's how you do it, man. You perfect that craft. You say, okay, here's the top priority. Let's get really good at that, and then let's work on the rest of the game. He's still young, Tim, a 7th-round pick. It was like it was yesterday we seen him humping that guy in college.
Oh man, I love it. And it's like you said, a season's 4 quarters, right? So let's look week 4 or 5 at this PFF list and see where he's fallen on that list, or hopefully rising up the list, I should say. And I think he's going to put together a solid season for us. And I think it's great. Pick up right where Bach had left off. We had to plug and play there at left tackle during the injury rehabs and all the ups and downs with D-Box. So Rashid kind of stepped up and was thrown into that role as a starter last year, and he's answered the call and continued to get better. And if he provides that comfortability for Jordan Love on that blind side, and we've given him time and we're protecting him, we're just going to be awesome. And I'm just happy for Rashid, because that's a guy, he's put in the work. He's done everything that this coaching staff has asked him to do, and it's paying off big time.
Definitely. And just wanted to do a quick plug here for the poll question tonight on YouTube. Which backup player on the Packers roster would you most like to see be a starter? The choices are Edgerrin Cooper, Lucas Van Ness, Dontavion Wicks, or Carrington Valentine. Okay, right now, Edgerrin Cooper running away with it, 75%. So we'll check back in on that if I don't forget by the end of the show, like I do most of the time. But right now, Edgerrin Cooper, I just thought, why not kind of test the pulse of the viewers and say, okay, what are you guys feeling as far as this player that's on the bench? I really want to see him in the starting role to see what he can do. So we'll get back to that later. Another thing that came across Twitter earlier, Sunday Night Football on NBC tweeted out Lamar Jackson remains in the top 10 among rushing leaders after week 2. So here are your rushing leaders week 2. J.K. Dobbins with 266 yards, Jordan Mason with 247, and our very own Josh Jacobs at 235. Tim, I miss Aaron Jones just as much as the next person, but I'll tell you, Josh Jacobs is really bridging that gap very, very nicely.
Oh, my gosh, yeah. I really wish we could get that goal line fumble back. That would have been the icing on the cake for sure. And you could really see he was just getting his hand over it to protect it, and it was just one of those fluke things, and something that rarely happens with Josh Jacobs, right? I mean, this is like, seeing a full eclipse kind of thing. Probably won't see one of these for a while. So I feel the same way you do. All respect to Aaron Jones. Certainly you feel a little bit better about missing a guy like that when you don't feel like you miss him as much, because you're getting this production and we're seeing it right away. And I do believe Josh Jacobs is a guy that you can give him that workload. We saw that on Sunday. I mean, he was working. I don't know what snap counts off the top of my head, but I'm sure it was something like 400 or 500 or some insane number that he played. So he's a workhorse back, and I don't know. He's kind of a hybrid back. He's an all-around back. Anything you ask this guy to do, he's going to do it, and he's going to do it well. And another one, I'm just happy that he's a Packer. Another guy with high character. You're not going to hear about this guy, getting involved in any BS outside of the game. And it's just really, really exciting to have these guys here in green and gold.
I remember reading a story in the offseason, Tim. It was right after the Packers signed him. They said that his, for lack of a better way of saying it, his baby mama, as the kids say today, right? He's no longer with her. They have a child together. And she spoke out in an interview about him and was like, he's just the most amazing person. Like, that really says a lot. Two people can't make a relationship work. They've got a kid involved, and they have that much. She has that much respect for him. I was like, man, that speaks volumes about a guy's character. It was just absolutely wild that was one of the things that popped up. Now, some people are going, Clayton, Tim, you're homers. That's the only reason you're so high on Josh Jacobs. Well, let's show you what Brian Balding, or Baldy on Twitter, Baldy NFL, one of the best at breaking down, especially offensive line play in the running game and everything. He said, Packers, Josh Jacobs, not many running backs are willing to, quote, press the hole like this, knowing you have the bounce, the explosion, the contact balance to escape. You guys remember in the offseason, we were talking about how he is so patient. He reminded me kind of like a Le'Veon Bell in his prime. Like he's just so patient behind the line of scrimmage. He'll let these backers get pulled into the gap and then bounce it. That's the big thing that stood out to me from that 2022 tape. Seems like he's back to 2022 form, but check it out. Let's see what Brian Baldinger had to say about Josh Jacobs.
Most running backs can only dream of doing what Josh Jacobs does on this play.
First of all, Tim, remember the offseason we were talking about pistol sets?
Yep.
Look, here's the pistol. We said that's one of the trends to watch for this year. Lo and behold, Malik Willis breaking out the pistol.
Like he's running out of a pistol formation, taking the handoff to Malik Willis. Like that's Zaire Franklin right there. He's their leading tackler. Josh Jacobs is going to what we call press the hole, right? He comes right to the hole, and there's Zaire Franklin, one-on-one. Like they could have a conversation. Hey, Zaire, you're from Philly. I heard about you. I heard you've been a baller all your life. And you could put right there in that position and bounce and break a tackle and go. Not many backs can do what Josh Jacobs can do. Like not many guys are willing to press the hole like he did on that play. What a day for Josh Jacobs and the Packers.
I love Baldy. Baldy's the man. I love his breakdowns. But yeah, when you see that though, who does that remind you of though? We were just talking about him. Yeah. I mean, Aaron Jones brought a lot of that to the table for us too. He would get in there and be able to bounce it out, light on his feet. But man, Josh Jacobs just roasted him there. I mean, that's a great camera angle there. A little bit of homemade all 22. I like it.
Watch him shrug off that second tackle too. Watch this, Tim. Watch his arm flip back. Get off me.
Yep. And then takes the right angle too. You know, running that right angle, not getting it back inside too soon. You know, giving him that extra. I mean, really, he added almost 10 yards to the end of that run. Absolutely. But he's just so athletic. You know, great form, ball to the outside hand. If you fumble it there, you fumble it out of bounds. You know, it's simple, fundamental stuff that you know, you've had drilled in your head. And a lot of guys they get lax as they get older in their careers. And Josh Jacobs is not that guy, man. He's playing fundamentally sound and using his talent and athletic ability to his full potential. And it's fun to watch. But yeah, pressing the hole like that's crucial because that's the only way you're going to really take, you know, a primetime tackler like that, you know, out of a play. You know, he was dead to rights one-on-one and he just beat him. It's beautiful.
No doubt about it. Someone else who I thought had a great day was Jeff Hafley. Pack Daddy actually tweeted this out. Jeff Hafley effect. Jalen Hurts, worst game ever via PFF, week 1 versus the Packers. Anthony Richardson's worst game ever, week 2 versus the Packers. And some people, listen, it's important to look at all the statistics. The rushing yards per attempt matter. The passing yards per attempt matter. The points per game, points per play, all that matters. The turnovers matter. Everything matters, right? But when you see 2 back-to-back quarterbacks, who Jalen Hurts, who was an MVP candidate a couple years ago, Anthony Richardson, who was in talks as being the number 1 pick a couple years ago, when you see they have their worst game ever, according to PFF, and they had just faced Jeff Hafley, I mean, you can't just sweep that under the rug. And Jacob Morley, another great follow on Twitter, at Jacob Morley, said, after 2 weeks, the Packers ranked 6th in the league in third down defense, 26.09% per Packers dope sheet. So here's the cool thing about that. What you're talking about, one thing that most fans don't take into account, Tim, is situational awareness from the defensive coordinator. Knowing when to fire that shot, knowing when to key up that most important play. You know, you've seen it on offense with Malik Willis taking that shot to Romeo Doubs. You've seen it too when they ran the F zipper flood concept, right? And him knowing, all right, this is when we're going to take our shot, being smart with it, not being too aggressive. Jeff Hafley, it seems like he is 10 times better than Joe Barry at those situations. And I think you're seeing immediate results there. There are other things that Joe Barry's defense, you cannot deny, was better at. But what's more important? This is the number I'm looking at. There were people complaining about this defense, Tim. We only gave up 10 freaking points. Like, yep. What are we talking about?
And yeah, I mean, it looks like at this point, Xavier McKinney's going to average a pick a game, you know? Yes. So, I mean, I feel pretty good about our defense. I definitely think if we're making the Joe Barry comparison here, and it's not really a direct comparison with coordinators, it's more of scheme and game planning. The one thing we're seeing with Coach Half is rallying to the football.
Yes.
These guys are rallying to the football. Gang tackling, playing the football, not necessarily the man. And we're seeing a lot of PBUs, a lot of tip passes at the line. We're seeing a lot of, how many times did you see guys wrapping up the ball carrier and just ripping or punching at that football on Sunday?
Right.
It was like every single play. And I know a lot of that is Coach Half and Coach Campanelli as well. Coach Ansley comes to mind. They got these linebackers, the secondary, our boys up front. They're playing that football. And that's a big glaring difference to me after watching 3 years of Joe Barry. I just felt like, there wasn't an emphasis on really rallying to the football. And now we see that. And that, to me, is really what's kind of setting this defense apart and on the right trajectory going forward. And, this is only the second game Coach Half has called as a DC here in Green Bay, and we're already looking up.
Yeah, definitely. And since you mentioned Xavier McKinney and his interceptions, this was a cool video that Packers tweeted out earlier today. This is Keyshawn Nixon asking Xavier McKinney about his interception goal for the season.
Now, 2 weeks, 2 picks. How many you going for? 10? We're going to say 10. All right, we're going to say 10. Now, 2 weeks, 2 picks.
So Keyshawn Nixon asked Xavier McKinney, hey, what's your goal, essentially? You going for 10 interceptions for the year? He went 7. That's no BS. That's a man, you see him. There's no, man, I'm doing good. I expect to be good, right?
Yep.
And on top of that, he has set a goal for himself. And here's the thing. You can always pass goals up. This goes for business especially. People set unrealistic goals all the time. And then when you don't meet those goals, you beat yourself up.
Yep.
Right. You got to be realistic and okay. It's okay to exceed past that. Everything after that's great. I love that he said 7. Keyshawn's going, no, you're going to get 10. All right, let's call it 10. It's pretty cool you brung that up, and that I actually had that keyed up ready to go. So.
Oh, I love it. And you see that. I like that shot right there. You got Bullard and K9, and you got X over there. I mean, that's the core of our D right there, especially the secondary. And really, Keyshawn, man, we had a lot to say about him this offseason, particularly his play at the nickel. And he's making us look bad, man. He's improving at that spot, every single week. And I love to see it. But, I don't know how many more freebies Xavier McKinney's going to get. That one he caught on Sunday was a meatball from Richardson. He absolutely just handed it right to him. But X is just so good. He's going to find his way to be near the ball all the time. I don't say it lightly. That Charles Woodson, one of my all-time favorite, that was a guy who played very similar. He was always around the ball. He had a knack for knowing where the ball was, whether it's before it's thrown or if it was already in the air. Woody knew how to find that ball. And you see that with X too, man. X is all over that field, and he's able to cover a lot of ground very quickly. So he's an absolute threat and a monster back there. I fully expect him to hit that 10 interception mark this year.
I'll tell you, he was so patient. We're going to hit that interception now when we get into Chalk Talk. So let's go ahead. For those of you listening on the pod, that'll wrap up hour 1. We will see you on the other side for hour 2. And here's what we're going to do, gang. For those of you on YouTube, we're going to go ahead and end the YouTube stream, and we're going to continue. We're going to stay up on Rumble and on X. So if you want to watch Chalk Talk, just hop over there. We're supposed to be able to use this footage, but again, they wouldn't tell us whether this footage was what triggered the AI to get the channel demonetized and also taken down for a few weeks. So that's why we're playing this extra cautious. So again, we'll go ahead and end the YouTube stream. We will see y'all over there on Rumble and on X. All right, Tim, let's make sure.